Hey everybody, in this video I'd like to talk a little bit how to calculate or find the duration of a car collision that's in terms of one that you filmed. It is important to film it. There's no way you could take a stopwatch out and be able to measure the amount of time that the car is in contact with the wall. Um, and so really filming it is the only option. If you film it on a regular like cell phone camera, it will typically film things at 30 frames per second. If you film things on like a computer, like a Chromebook or whatever, again, 30 frames per second. However, some cell phones have an option of putting things into slow motion. And so you might have a chance, like in here, kind of in the more features or something like that. There's like a slow motion option here, which in the Android version allows you to film things at kind of a fourth of regular speed, which shoots things at 120 frames per second, or you can do it at an eighth of that speed, which is 240 frames per second. And I'd have to look at the iPhone to be able to see kind of what that does. But this could be a very helpful tool if you film things in slow motion to be able to get kind of an understanding of what goes on. Again, if you don't have that tool, you can totally still do it using kind of your computer and or regular, 30 frame per second camera works out just fine. So in this slide of my presentation, I explain kind of what's going on, but let me show you how I do it overall. And I'm going to do that in YouTube itself, because in YouTube, I can actually step frame by frame through the collision itself. And that's important here. If I can't, then it's just like trying to use a stopwatch, and that doesn't do any good. You might have the ability to step frame by frame on your cell phone itself, but most don't. But you can upload things to YouTube directly. And there's lots of tutorials about how to upload things to YouTube. And then when they're in YouTube, you can step frame by frame using your angle brackets there, which I have kind of just down here on the screen, right, as you're coming into it. So let me go ahead and move across into YouTube and show you what this looks like with this particular video here. I have my car that's going to roll along on its way, and if I hit play on the video itself, that's what I've got. I want to figure out how long this item right here is in contact kind of with the wall itself. So right over here, it's going to run in contact with the wall. Let me back this up a little bit. And I can run this forward. I'm just hitting my period key, or my angle bracket, which is kind of a greater than sign, and I'm doing it one at a time. And I think this is coming in contact with the wall in the frame right about there. If I go one beyond, it starts to crumple. If I go back one, it seems like it's not touching the wall. So I think that's my first frame where it's touching the wall. And what I need to do next is I just need to count. I'm going to count how many frames this kind of safety device is in contact with the wall. So if I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. I think that's the last frame that's in contact. If I go one more, it's not. So 36, yeah. So 36 is it. Well, if I have 36 frames that it's in contact with the wall, how do I figure out how many seconds that is? Well, the easiest way to do that is to go ahead and divide the amount of frames that you have that's in contact with the frame rate of the film. So in my case, I'm filming at 240 frames per second. So I would take my 36 frames and I would divide them by 240. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here, where I'm in YouTube and I can maybe type in calculator.com or something like that to pull up a calculator. There's lots of them, but I could go ahead and say 36 divided by 240. And what I do is I get this number 0.15. And 0.15 is my time in seconds. So that car is in contact with the wall for 0.15 seconds. What if I wasn't filming at 240 frames per second? I wasn't filming in slow motion? And the answer is that whatever your duration is, let's say you get in contact with the wall for 10 frames instead, you just divide that by your frame rate, which is 30, and that means that the total duration of that collision would be 0.3 seconds. So take whatever amount of frames you've got and divide by your frame rate, and you've got it. Well, let's take a look at a collision that is happening. It's a little bit faster, right? If I happen a little bit faster, this collision here is the car like running into the wall, but it is definitely not happening uh, for very long. The last time I had a much longer time frame, and so I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this again by stepping through it. So here I'm going to move forward again, hitting that period or the angle bracket there, and I want to find out how many seconds or how many frames, I guess, this thing is in contact with the wall. Here it comes. You can see the shadow coming up on it. Not in contact, not in contact, not in contact. Maybe that's in contact. Oh, but now it's, hang on. Now it's moving the other direction already. I think this thing is in contact with the wall for only one frame. That's not a lot. It's coming here, bang, and now it's going the other direction, right? That's it. It just touches the wall for a single frame. If it's a single frame, thinking back to my calculator for a moment, then I would just take my 1 and I would divide it by my 240. So it's 1/240th of a second, which is 0.0042 about. That's the amount of time in seconds that it's in contact with the wall, as long as I'm filming at 240 frames per second. If it was for one frame, if it's one for 30 frames per second, then I would do the same kind of deal and I would just divide by 30, same kind of deal, and I would say it's in contact with the wall for 0.03 seconds. So that's how you find out the collisions with the wall and how long they're there in terms of my duration. Hopefully that was helpful as a whole, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.